we get started, is there anyone who's on a bench or a chair that would be comfortable on a cushion? That's okay if not. Yeah. And did you guys move chairs? If you can still put the chair back where it was. Thanks. Or maybe, does she want to come on the cushion? Thanks. And for those who just came in, there's a chair up here. You can all join palms and repeat after me. I take refuge in the Buddha. I take refuge in the Dharma. I take refuge in the Sangha. Keeping the palms joined. With palms down. You guys together? Yes. Who in this room has problems with authority? You got both hands up, and an oh my gosh. Or an oh my gosh and two hands. Sorry, I was still focused on all the hands that were in the front. Hands up again, who here has a problem with authority? That's just about every hand up. And if you don't, I'll potentially believe you and potentially think you're lying. I'm not sure. That's all right. It's interesting because, I grew up listening to nobody about anything. Anyone here always think they're right? Oh boy, if you're this is going to be an easy one with you today. You came to the front row too, all right? We don't like when people tell us what to do. Kids especially. Kids become adults. Kids don't like being told what to do. Adults don't like being told what to do. We just don't like being told what to do. Now, we don't have enough time this morning to explore why, but what I can tell you from my own personal experience is not liking being told what to do was so much of what caused my suffering. Because in that thing of not liking being told what to do is your ego and yourself and your pride and your own view of importance and the perception of how dare somebody else tell me what I should do, right? You can all use your own interpretations in there, but that is our attachment to our sense of self that causes suffering. It's interesting because I often, that's not true. I rarely have an intention of what I want to talk about today, and then all of a sudden something hit me earlier, and then I thought maybe I won't talk about it, but now I'm gonna bring it up a little bit, maybe talk about it more after meditation. We'll see. But for me, my personal journey with Buddhism, my time in a monastery, one of the greatest practices was just following, right? Just for once in my life, shutting up not questioning everything, not critiquing everything, not judging everything, not having any input, not wondering why we're doing something, but just following. Now, it was all in Mandarin Chinese anyway, so I really couldn't have argued much. And even if I had complaints or concerns, they wouldn't have been understood so well. And not only was the following a part of the daily practice, but it was also more just observing, because all of the instruction and guidance was in Mandarin. So I couldn't even hear or interpret through language, spoken language, what I was supposed to do. When people bowed, I bowed. When they stood up, I stood up. When everybody started to go to the bathroom, oh, this is time to go to the bathroom. You just follow. That's a really hard thing for us to do. But it is incredibly liberating. And what I've found in the last 18 years of being around Buddhist Sanghas and 15 years of running this place is people often come to Buddhist places and meditation places with this mindset that they're going to a day spa. That's not Buddhist practice. Day spas are great. They're also a heck of a lot more expensive than this, right? But I always talk about after meditation how this stuff isn't an escape, and I mean that very seriously. The phrase most of you have heard me say over and over and over again is, if your life is a crazy, hectic, stressed out mess, meditation isn't going to fix it. What it's going to do is help you become aware of why your life is a crazy, hectic, stressed out mess. Coming here also isn't going to fix that. The only person that can fix that is you. And that requires you exploring your attachments to yourself and your absolute dislike of people telling you what to do. I think there were 5 people this morning in the last 30 minutes that I asked or told on varying degrees. Of course, the mask was on so that you couldn't even see a smile. It's like when we ask you to do something and we're smiling, the smiling kind of desensitizes it a little bit, Norma, will you please go sweep the ground for the next 3 hours? Right?
I'm smiling.
You're smiling underneath the mask, thank you. But if you say that and your face is covered and there's no smile, then you're left to just the words. But I asked 5 people over the last 30 minutes or told them to do something. And I'm pretty certain, again, I could be wrong, reactions weren't, you can't read reactions. None of them like hearing it. We're human, right? The greatest practice for me when I started in 2003 at the Buddhist temple was I showed up and the nun, the master there, just gave me a hammer and said, can you go fix this stuff in the bathroom? I went to meditate and learn about Buddhism. I wasn't there to fix stuff in the bathroom. I eventually realized that this path and this practice is simply fixing stuff in the bathroom. And that's it. It's not necessarily what you want to do. It's not why any of you came here, and I promise I'm not going to go make you all fix things in the bathroom. Bathroom's pretty good. But really explore deeply how much we dislike the things that come at us. If it doesn't align, there are cushions up here. You okay on a cushion or no? Okay. So we need one person in the middle only, in the back, very back. And then in the back, Travis, can you adjust how they're sitting, please? One in the middle, 2 to the right. Thank you. How many of you here for the first time? Not that many of you actually today. That's great. You're like, I just came to meditate. What is this badness? All right. I promise it'll get gentler. But this stuff is the important stuff. We care very deeply about the suffering that you experience on a day-to-day basis because we know it intimately. It's not fun. Depression, anxiety, stress, anger, it sucks. And the Buddha taught that we all have it. So we have to look at, what is it? And I promise you, meditation, like I said earlier, won't fix it. It's really looking at what's causing your suffering. And that's our views, our judgments, and our attachments to the self that think we know what's best. Now the danger, the question, and then we'll start our meditation. I'm really just waiting for everybody to show up. The danger is, the question is, okay, if we don't necessarily know what's best for us, who does? And that's where the Buddhist teachings come into play. Not that the Buddhist teachings are what's best for you, but you get to practice them. And on your own. You have a mask, my friend? Travis has one at the door. Thank you. Such a fun, I love mornings like this. Because it's so boring just to sit here and do the same thing over and over and over again. Do you like being told what to do?
Oh my God, no.
Oh my God, no. Can you say that louder?
Oh my God, no.
Oh my God, no, she said. Who tells you what to do? Exhibit A, right here. And who is this person you're pointing to?
My mom.
My mom. Does your mom love you?
Yes.
When she tells you what to do, does she love you?
Yes.
You just don't like it, right?
I want to do what I want to do.
I want to do what I want to do. And you're how old?
I'm
9. 9. I mean, she's 9. Just let her do what she wants to do. How hard is that? Right? Your mother loves you, and someday you'll do what you want to do. But it's going to be a while.
Yeah.
Yeah. You figured that out, huh? When do you think you'll be old enough to do what you want to do?
When I'm a teenager.
When you're what?
A teenager.
A teenager, oh yeah. Because that's when everything opens up. Good luck. It's good to know that when we're a teenager, we get to do what we want to do. Yes. Well, let's just hope when you're old like the rest of us and you get to do what you want to do, you don't end up here on a Saturday morning, because that means you might have done a few things not so well along the way. So, and the worse you are, the greater the chance that you get to sit here and tell everybody else about their own misery, you know? So, listen to Mom. I try, thank you. Good effort. All right, now we're going to start a meditation practice. Thanks for putting that on, we appreciate it. I just want to keep going, but I'm going to stop. So we'll start a meditation practice. There's a couple things to tell you before we begin. Nothing's going to happen to you. You will not float away. You will not have any mystical, magical experiences. You will not figure anything out whatsoever. The mind that races all day long will not shut off. Don't judge your practice, meaning don't ask yourself, is it working or not working? Am I doing it right or wrong? We're just going to sit, we're going to breathe. You'll hear sounds inside the room, sounds outside. This is life. Life is filled with chaos. And the practice of meditation is learning to get quiet and still within all the chaos. Posture, you just want to be comfortable. Cushions often help slide in the front third. Pushing the stomach forward allows the back to straighten. Shoulders are relaxed. If you're on the cushion or on the benches or chairs, I suggest sliding to the front of the bench or the chair, allowing your feet to settle flat on the ground. You're not here to fall asleep, you're here to wake up. I will guide us as we begin. We'll settle into a little bit of silence. Most important, don't expect anything. And starting with the eyes closed if comfortable, or slightly open. Mouth open or closed. We'll start with taking 3 deep breaths slowly. And eventually, settle into a natural rhythm of the breath. Noticing the mind as it wanders, jumping from thought to thought. Start with gently guiding the attention, focus, to the stomach or chest. Breathing in, feel them rise. Breathing out, they fall. Simply continue this practice, observing sensation of breath. And as the mind wanders, lost in thought, recognize it. Release that thought. Return attention, focus to the breath. letting go of expectations, letting go of judgment from the practice, just sitting, breathing. Keeping the mind alert, aware of each sound, each thought, each physical sensation, yet concerned with nothing but sitting, breathing. learning to be comfortable in stillness, in quiet, wanting nothing but to sit and breathe. And with the body still, rested, and the speech quiet, aware of all sounds, and the mind learning to settle, know what it's like to just sit and breathe. Knowing with each breath, there's nothing else to do. Nowhere else to go. No one else to be. Everything beautiful, exactly as it is. Sitting, breathing. And once again, taking 3 deep breaths, slowly. As you slowly open the eyes, slowly begin to move. And most important, with the practice of meditation, is to recognize how you feel now, immediately after. Compare this to how you typically feel throughout your day. Recognize the difference, if there is one. Ask yourselves how you prefer to feel every day for the rest of your life. And realize however you feel now, if it's quiet, calm, and still, or a busy mind, racing mind, whatever you're sitting with at this moment, it's nothing to do with anything I said. It's nothing to do with how we sit and hold the hands across the legs. It's not from the sounds around us or anything else for that matter. It's everything to do with your own mind and your own mind's reaction to an external condition. This is what the Buddha called pratitya samuppada, means dependent origination. This is the basis of the Buddha's awakening. The word Buddha simply means awakened. He was a human being no different than any one of us, who began to understand why he suffered, why he got angry, why he got sad, why he got depressed, why he got stressed, why he got anxious. He began to understand the causal relationship of all phenomena. And what that means very simply for all of us is every moment of our lives, things happen and we react. More stuff happens, more reactions. That's what we get. This practice is learning what it's like to respond to something quietly, peacefully, still. Because for most of us, the way we respond to the last 20 minutes is quite different from how you respond to everything else that's happening throughout your day. And all we're working on is closing the gap to where the way you feel now is closer to how you feel always. Just as driven, motivated, productive, successful, whatever that means to you in your respective lives. But with a mind that's steady, clear, and focused, distracted by nothing, disturbed by no one. This is not an easy practice. Meditation, Buddhist practice, is not an escape. Like I said earlier, it's not the day spa. It's direct perception into the present moment and how you respond to that present moment. And very often, many people don't respond to present moments so well. And your response to that present moment is the reason you abide in anger or joy. Your response to the present moment determines whether you abide in happiness or sadness. The mistake people make is they think that they can control the conditions around them. This practice is not creating a perfect life. This practice is recognizing that you can only control how you respond to what is occurring around you. And your fight, your struggle, your resistance to everybody else and everything else has a lot to do with why we end up sitting here on a Saturday morning. Meditation is free. Buddhist practice is free. But it requires a tremendous amount of discipline in our lives. Mental discipline, physical discipline, emotional discipline. Most people don't show up to meditation on a Saturday morning because they want to learn discipline. But what's causing your suffering? What's causing your suffering?
You.
I didn't do anything to you. You yourself, your thoughts are causing your own suffering. So when you learn to discipline and train your mind, your suffering decreases. So a dear friend of mine who grew up here in San Diego was a student of Buddhism when he was very young, teenage years, when he gained full control of his life. I'm kidding. And he, same temple, started going to, this is, I don't know, probably 30 years ago now. But, and when he graduated high school, he wanted to become a monk. The master told him to finish college, so he went to UCSD. He went to either Poway High School or Rancho Bernardo High, I'm not sure. And after he graduated from UCSD, he immediately moved to Taiwan and became a monk. And he spent probably 15, 18 years in the monastery there. And he eventually left that monastery and started his own small monastery / temple in Taiwan. So he spent 20 plus years of his life in San Diego. And he spent the last probably 25 years as a Buddhist monk in Taiwan. African-American father, Taiwanese mother, grew up exposed to many cultures. And years ago, we were talking about Buddhism in this country because that was his dream was to see Buddhist practice shared in the place where he grew up, because to him, he experienced tremendous pain and suffering, and Buddhist practice brought him tremendous joy. So he wanted to share that. That's why those of us who share Buddhism, that's what it's about. It brought us joy. And so we want to share it, no different than wanting to share your favorite movie with somebody or tell someone about, your favorite ice cream, whatever it is. And we were talking years ago, it's probably 10, 12 years ago now. And we were talking about the difference with Buddhist places in the United States versus Taiwan. And he said, in America, people come to Buddhist temples wanting to be served, like they're going to a restaurant. Here I am. Here's all my stuff. Here's my mess, my baggage, my problems. I'm going to put it out there, and I want you to serve me and fix me. In Taiwan, they show up, and there's no trying to figure stuff out. There's just doing things. It's very different. And having lived in it now, there for a year and here for the last long time, I really struggle to put into words the different approach. Now, I respect it and I understand it because that was my approach and view when I first started as well. I thought, well, I'm an angry, depressed kid. I got a lot of problems. I'm going to try Buddhism. Can you fix me? And then you look at the Buddhist teachings and it's talking about non-self. Who is there to fix? All the baggage, all the stories, all the emotional trauma you're telling yourself and your therapist over and over and over again, you're living in over and over and over again. Buddhist practice says, set down that story about all the things you've been fighting your whole life and all the people you've been fighting your whole life. Here's a broom, go sweep outside. I've yet to meet too many people who grew up more angry, miserable, depressed than I was. And that's not to minimize anybody's own experiences. I spent a lot of time, 20 years, around people who have experienced tremendous trauma and grown up in tremendous harsh realities and conditions and experiences. And many of them even found greater joy than I did growing up. And for some reason, when that master said, here's a broom, go sweep, here's a hammer, go fix something, all that crap in my head that I had been telling myself about how miserable I was went away. Because you know what I wasn't focused on? Me. You know what the root cause of my problem was? Me. So I share this as passionately as possible because I truly believe from learning this practice that it is the core of why we suffer so much. It's a completely different approach, trying to figure everything out. When you're sweeping, not much to figure out. I mean, you know, can I get all the leaves into the little dustpan thing? That's about as complicated as it gets. Maybe you'll get some wind, you know, and totally ruin your experience because then you have to sweep them up again. My master used to say, you sweep leaves every day. Because if you stop one day, what happens the next day? More leaves are piled up. And this was a metaphor for our minds. For practice, we must take care of our mental, emotional health every day. Do things that are good for your heart and mind. Observe things that are healthy for your heart and mind. Spend time around people and places that are healthy for your heart and your mind. It's a great Zen expression. It says, to a worm in horseradish, the world is horseradish. So be very careful, and what I'm really talking about is mental discipline. Be very careful where you put your mind and what you focus on. Because if you focus on all the problems and everything that's wrong with your life, how's that going to make you feel? I mean, you've been doing that so far all this time anyways. How's that working? Have you fixed anything? Now, again, I'm making very broad general statements when I say you because this might not apply to any of you. But there's a slight chance that at least one of you in this room might relate to what I'm talking about. And to close on this thought, you know, there's 40 plus of you here. We don't have 40 brooms. Meaning this talk is not about getting you all to grab a broom and go sweep outside. Although anyone who wants to is welcome to. Find the broom in your life. Simplify the things in your life. The broom also is a metaphor for something in your life that you can just do. That is simple. And doesn't require you thinking everything is wrong with you. So, I will pause there and open up to questions, meditation, Buddhist practice, anything you're sitting with that I can address. Yeah, Chuck.
In regards to what you were talking about in the beginning, how do you, can you expand upon how do you deal with phrases, that the famous phrases, like you said, I was just following orders, because that's the condition where you're just doing what somebody's telling you to do.
I don't understand the question. How do you do that? Is that what you're saying?
I wanted you to expand upon where do you make a decision of whether to follow the order or not.
What I'm suggesting is find areas in your life, places in your life, people in your life where there is no choice. What I'm talking about is, now, if I went to a place and they said, we're all going to jump off this cliff, then there's a discernment that occurs that says, yeah, that's probably not good for me. Right?
Yes.
But I've known you long enough to, unfortunately, fully understand the nature of your question and why this is so ridiculously impossible for you. Because you like to figure stuff out. You hate when people tell you to do stuff. And what I'm talking about is the practice of putting yourself in conditions. I'll use my example for me in my life. When I show up in a monastery, I trusted everything that was going on there. I made that decision before I stepped in the gate that said, I trust where I'm at. There were no decisions to be made after that. There was the absolute surrender that said, here I am, I'm a mess, I've been doing it wrong my whole life, I'm going to shut up and I'm going to follow. So the decision was made putting me in that situation. I wish you could all see him, he's doing this right now. Because he hates this, he disagrees with this.
So,
Go right ahead, Joe.
the problem is
Oh, I know there's a lot of problems.
there are a number of individuals that are following things.
No, stop. I'm going to stop you right there. This is not about a number of individuals. This is not about, I'm not saying to, I'm talking about you. Forget other individuals. Forget the problem with other people. If there are people telling people to go jump off a cliff, remove yourself from that group. I'm talking about you in your life. There is no problem with this if you in your life make a discernment that says, and each individual is that discernment, that decision is going to be different for each one of us in this room.
That's the point.
Yeah, that is.
You would have a certain amount of thoughts about what should be followed and what shouldn't.
So we agree. But at some point in time, you got to take your ego aside and say, I'm just going to shut up and follow. Or you can continue to fight things your whole life. That's each individual's choice. Once I made the decision in that environment to set aside the ego and the challenging of everything, because I spent the majority of my life challenging everything and everyone, disagreeing with everything and everyone, and trying to philosophize and prove and do exactly what you're talking about right now. It's torture. It is so liberating to set all that down.
Well, I agree with what you're saying.
Good.
I absolutely agree.
Next question. Garrett, I'm done. Thanks. Garrett, go ahead.
I was thinking, when we take refuge in Buddha, the Sangha, my first day here was I came to take refuge in the Sangha. So at first I was like, I don't know if I agree with you.
Who are these people?
Well, no, I don't know if I come here because my life is a mess. It was a mess for a long time when I didn't come here. Whatever, but I come specifically for the Sangha, right?
Yeah.
For the community and COVID and all the other things, make it that much more important to be around people who at least have that intention of trying to be better, not better, not be a jerk, right?
Yeah.
So when I read Buddhist texts, I can get really caught up in the words and how they're loaded with other meanings from maybe other religions or experiences. And what comes back to me to simplify it is when you say, just be kind, it's really easy, right? And maybe do no harm. So I leave here every Saturday, practicing something like that. Look at yourself and how many of your thoughts are judgments? And I was horrified. I judge all day, every day, so many thoughts. But that whole breathing thing, giving myself the space to not react, then I go, just don't be a jerk. It's kind of easier if I start there. Then compassion, and but it is hard out in the world. And culturally, we're not a culture that practices those kinds of things. So when you come up against that, whoa, that's can be jarring. And how do I continue to not be a jerk when everybody else is,
Right.
So focus on me and my suffering, because if I get caught up in that, I get angry, I get intolerant, I get self-righteous. Otherwise, if I don't engage and breathe and listen to the birds and look at the clouds, it's a whole different experience. Right?
Yeah, it's and I can't really repeat everything Kira said, but it's understanding that the third part of taking refuge in the Sangha, which is community, it's not about because a lot of you know each other, but a lot of you don't know each other. So for those who are maybe new to Buddhism, this isn't about blindly taking faith or belief in someone or something else, right? It's not about blindly finding refuge, safety, comfort, protection in all of these people in the room, right? It's recognizing that when we put ourselves in community, which could be any community, with an intention that speaks to our heart, we tend to respond better, right? It's not to mean that we haven't had conflict, in an environment like this. You always have conflict in anything in the world. But chances are you probably have not been mean or nasty or rude to anybody here really in all the years you've been coming here, right? Now, how many people were you mean or nasty or rude to yesterday outside of here? So that to me is really the heart of what you're talking about. When you talk about finding safety, comfort, protection in community, it could be, there's lots of temples, yoga centers, any spiritual place, you can find safety, comfort, protection in a community anywhere. But really, for me, it's always been about when we practice with other people, there's a motivating factor that exists that says, I'm going to motivate myself to be a kinder, gentler person when I leave these doors. Because that's where it's more difficult. The rest of your day today, people are going to challenge you with everything. And you have an opportunity to be mean and nasty, as you're saying, or to be kind and gentle and not judge. And so, what you said reminds me very much of what Vicky said a long time ago, that a lot of the stuff we explore, it's the same thing over and over again, but we just need the reminders. We've been learning this stuff about kindness and compassion most of our lives. But it's really hard to do it because the people out there don't do what we want. Damn. If everyone would just do everything we want always, then life would be so much easier. But that will never happen. Not even when you're a teenager. Yeah.
So I've been practicing for a few years now. It really changed my life. And we've decided to move as a family, move home. And practicing detachment is really, really, really hard now. So would you talk about detachment? So when I talk about detachment, I find that it's really hard for me now to separate from my home, my physical home.
Yeah.
Maybe my furniture is.
The furniture, not the furniture.
Not the furniture.
Right. So the question is, been practicing for many years and with the family and moving back home, and home is where?
In Israel.
In Israel. So moving back home, and your struggle now is, as you say, detachment. I'll touch on that in a minute. How do you move through that, including your furniture, right? Because you're probably not shipping all of it to Israel, right? So let me first clarify, just for everybody, really, the teaching in Buddhism is, and I know what you mean when you say detachment, but it's called non-attachment.
Right.
And it helps for everybody to look at this teaching of non-attachment, not as a cutting off of or a separation from. Non-attachment means you come together for a period of time. Every person, place, thing in our life comes together for a period of time, and then it ceases to exist. So what that means is, we have stories, dreams, ideas, goals, visions, realities, with all of these things that have been in your life all of this time that you've been here. And now that you're going to physically be moving away from them, you are very attached to them. I'm sure you've made some great friends here and, been to some great places, and maybe you have a favorite restaurant, maybe you have a favorite couch, you got all these things. And now all that's going to be gone. But when you're physically there, you're going to have many choices, but two of them are going to be, I can be thinking about all the people and places and things that I missed back there, or I can wake up and find beauty and appreciation in all the people and places and things I have here. Every time we move through attachment issues, it creates opportunity to find incredible joy and love and gratitude for what we now have. And I mean, I'm glad you said furniture because it's such a good metaphor. Furniture is heavy, right? So is baggage. That's a lot of stuff we carry. the metaphor of carrying a lot of baggage, right? You don't want to bring all that furniture and baggage. There's also some things here that you probably can't wait to get away from, right?
Yeah.
So I'm right there with you, you know? But this is the reality of life. There's no simple way to work through non-attachment other than the reality of one moment you're here and the next moment you're here. And as long as you are, the practice is to focus using that concentration on the present moment of here I am. This is my furniture now. This is my restaurant now. These are my friends now. And you'll look back and you'll appreciate all that you had, and you'll be, you know, that what you are moving away from. And there'll be moments of sadness and things that you miss. But if you spend the next 3 years in sadness over things you miss, then you're missing out on the opportunity for all the new joy and beauty that comes into your life. So while non-attachment seems like a really difficult, challenging thing, it's actually really liberating, because imagine, how many of you have things in your life right now that you wish weren't there? So if non-attachment wasn't a thing, you would be stuck with those people and places and things forever. Yeah. So it's a difficult practice, but I'd like to simplify it down to present moment, gratitude, appreciation. Right?
Thank you.
You know, you have a favorite couch, take a picture of it. Well, you probably have a lot of pictures of it, but take one more picture of it. Any moment that you're really missing that couch and your new one just sucks, just take it out and be like, I remember that couch.
And it's funny that you said it, because I kind of doubt that I will really miss the couch.
Right. You know, and you may find yourself not missing so many things as you think you are right now. But it is that actual initial process of moving away from and towards other things that are really difficult for us.
Yes.
So does that help?
Very. Thank you.
Yeah. Non-attachment is such a beautiful Buddhist practice. And the greatest attachment we have, and I'll close with this thought, is to our sense of self. Everything revolves from me, I, my views, my perceptions, my judgments, my idea that my views are correct. And when I learned from Thich Nhat Hanh, the beautiful teaching on what is nirvana, what is freedom from suffering, he said freedom from views. And that doesn't mean, when I heard that, I didn't interpret it as I'm going to have no views the rest of my life. I interpret it as that view that I'm holding on to so tightly, that I just won't let go of, that my ego is so wrapped up in, that I'm convinced I can prove someone else that I'm right. All of that stuff. It's setting it down. And when you do that, you begin to wake up to, I think, the beauty that is actually around us. Because the stories you've told yourself your whole life probably aren't doing you too much good. So, and it also happened a long time ago. You know? So I'll close on that with joint palms. May the benefit of this practice be shared with all beings in all directions. May all be at peace. May all be free from suffering. May any merit gained from this practice be transferred to the more than 4 million lives who've been lost during this pandemic over the last 16 months, and to the family and friends who suffer at this time. May they all be at peace. May we all be at peace and free from suffering. So a few quick announcements before you all head out. Thank you for being here. My name is Jeff. I'm a Dharma bum. We opened up this temple 15 years ago to introduce Buddhist practice to those who show up. So thanks for showing up. Those of us who lead, we're not monks, we're not nuns, we're not gurus, we're not masters, we're not teachers, we're not looking for students. We're just unenlightened practitioners like everybody else, doing our best to take our understanding of Buddhist teachings and hopefully put it into terms that make sense to those who show up. So again, thanks for showing up. Just about every night we have different practices going on from different traditions or lineages of Buddhist practice. With the pandemic, we closed 16 months ago. We opened up, I think this is the start of week 4. So after 16 months, we've now been open about 4 weeks. Some classes are in person, some are virtual, some are both. As always, it's great to sit with our millions of YouTube followers, so thanks for being here. Tuesday night, Wednesday night, Thursday night is in person. I do the intro to Buddhism and meditation Tuesdays. Alex does the Metta, loving kindness Wednesdays, and Travis does the Dharma Bum basics and meditation on Thursday nights. So those are all here. Saturday morning, obviously, is this, and our recovery sangha, so anyone battling addiction, drugs, alcohol, or anything for that matter. Tuesday night at 7, we meet downstairs. And Sunday morning, we meet here. Other than that, Buddha for You, also the adjusted hours there. It's open Saturdays and Sundays, 12 to 3. So it's open now. If you need books or anything, that's downstairs. And it's open 6 to 7 during the week on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. The temple, Saturday, Sunday will be open from 12 to 3. And also during the class time in the evening. So typically we're open from morning till night, but we have it closed during the day just so we can continue to manage everything the way we are. I also, on behalf of, Travis and Maggie and myself who manage this whole place, we really appreciate you wearing masks. We appreciate you splitting up and separating the seats and, things like that. It allows us to be open after 16 months and to operate comfortably and to keep those who show up here being comfortable. So we don't like the RSVP stuff. We don't like telling people where to sit. We don't like checking you in at the door. We've never done that for 14 years, but we're in a different time now. So we have to do what we can to keep everything as safe and healthy as possible. Speaking of brooms, if you do want to sweep or help pick up outside from 12 to 2, we will have a small group of people outside sweeping and doing some cleaning up around the temple grounds. So if you want to do that, you're welcome to stick around. Other than that, and Monday through Friday, we are sitting 8 and 8:30 in the morning. So it's a silent meditation, 25 minutes. You can come at 8, 8:30, whatever you want. And it's just a nice, quiet meditation practice. And then the temple closes. So that's all. So I appreciate you being here. And just remember as you go through your day today, any anger you have, that's your judgment and your view of someone else. So good luck all.
Peace out to all you YouTube followers. Lots of love.